remember the specific moment that part of my head went, this is it. And I was down at a networking event, and I had been doing my business on the side, loved it. And the way I explain it to people, it was when the FOMO became more than the FOE, as I call it. So that fear of missing out and what could potentially be became so much stronger than the fear of what if. Mm-hmm. And that's how I explain it. It was the moment that I was very lucky. I had a really good job working with performance athletes day in, day out, getting to be the psychologist, the life coach. It was like the dream job on paper. And I loved the work I did with the athletes and the work I did with the coaches. What I didn't like was the boundaries. I didn't like being confined and told that I had to be this psychologist over here or this life coach over here, and I had to do it within these specific parameters. It drove me insane. And I had a boss that was, we talk about licks. She was one of those licks. She was a cow, basically. And I thought, you know what? I'd had enough. But the really interesting part of it for me, Cordelia, is when I think back to it, I think back about the work I did. What I'd asked at that point in time is I'd asked the university to show me, to direct me, to give me that sign. And on the way down to Birmingham, where I was going, I actually booked my very first big coaching client on the way down. And I'd asked for a sign. I said, give me a sign that this is the direction I'm supposed to go on. I got down there. I like threes. I got down there. I was staying overnight. And that morning I says, give me 2 other messages that this is the right path to go. I got a message from my boss being an absolute cow. I thought, okay, this is going somewhere. And we went for a tea break. And on the tea break, I got a call from another person who wanted to be coached by me. And this was quite a high profile person. And I went, okay, universe. And I said to my friend, I said, give me 5 minutes. I'm going out to make a phone call. I called my boss and I said, I'm handing in my resignation. That was it.
Yeah. But it sounds like you were building up to that moment for quite a while. So, I feel like we do the next thing that's tangible to us, right? We do the thing that makes the most sense. So, when we're kids, we think of what job we want. When we're going to university, we pick a tangible thing, or when we're going to college, or when we decide we want a business, we pick something that we know about. And for me, all the way back then, it was eBay, because I was like, well, I can sell things on eBay. That makes sense to me. But becoming a coach, I mean, that was completely alien to me. So you had this experience in coaching athletes. Where was the moment when you realized that you could do that on your own as a business? Because you say you were going to networking events, but there must have been something previous to that moment that you were like, I'm ready to go all in on my.
Yeah. I had, when I was working full time for this organization, I was getting results that were far better than anyone else, any of the other psychologists were getting. And I never really understood why at the time, because, I was an academic, I was a psychologist, I needed the evidence, I needed to use the theories, but I always had this other thing that just annoying that I called it. So I was working with other clients who were coming to me privately anyways. So people were asking to work with me. So I had been working with clients on the side for probably a good few years. And it got to the point where rather than going through this organization, they wanted to come to me direct. So I knew there was a need for what I had. I just didn't know what the heck that I had at that point in time that was making the difference. It's like, I'm doing something different, but asked me to explain it because I couldn't.
Can you break down what it is like that? But you've said that you didn't know what you had, but what were you doing with the organization? Is that top secret?
No. So I worked for, you may have heard the English Institute of Sport. In Scotland, we have a Scottish Institute of Sport, and they're the high performance end of performance sport. That's where all the funded athletes go. So all the lottery funding goes into this pots of money and then is divvied out to the athletes via support services, which I was one of. So I was I was called a performance lifestyle advisor. So I was a crossover between a psychologist and a life coach. So I've always been in coaching. So that's what I was doing in that job. However, as a psychologist, we're accredited through BPS. We have very specific, strict guidelines we have to work within. And I wasn't working within them. I wasn't just being the psychologist. I wasn't just being the life coach. I was being that and other things. And my boss absolutely hated it. And I loved it because it went me up.
I love that. And so can you talk to me about what exactly, like, what were you doing though? Like, what does that mean in terms of practice? Like, so someone comes in, they were a high performance athlete and all of a sudden, I don't know, they stop being able to throw a ball. That's a bit extreme, but something, it's like, share with me that.
It's like the sports psychology element of it is if it affects their performance. So if they're not performing as well as they think they should be, or they're having anxiety prior to competitions, or they're just not getting the best out of themselves mentally, then the sports psychology aspect would kick in and you would look at their pre-performance routine, their competition routine, their anxiety, their nerves, giving them coping mechanisms and strategies to help them be the best performer. However, as a performer at that level, that is their job. So the life coaching element came in. Where do you combine? How do you fit them as an athlete into their overall lifestyle? So you would work with them in the coaching aspect of how do they live the life of a performance athlete and also get the best out of themselves, not only as an athlete, but as a person. So that was where you combined both parts. So it could mean anything and everything, and it literally did. I mean, I talked about sex and everything in my sessions. It was great fun. I loved it.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I want to go back to what you said earlier about, you asked the universe or whatever you believe in to show you 3 signs. Were you scared to hand your notice in? Were those 3 signs just to make sure you were doing the right thing? Sounds like you were ready, but like, how did you feel about handing it in? And also then what response did you get back from that boss of yours?
Oh, this is funny. So on that morning when I woke up, I couldn't see it. I didn't know I was going to hand my notice in that day. I had no intention of doing it that day when I woke up. But I got to the point where I knew I wanted to do it. I knew I could do it. And I was learning to use the universe and trust the universe and follow the signs. And the moment it was something just switched in my head, and it was the point of no return. Because we do that, you get to that point where you just jump off the cliff or it flips, where the thought of staying where you are is just too uncomfortable now. Whatever is over the horizon, it can't be any worse than that fear of what I call missing out and what potentially could have been. Because we'll go on to the whole energy force, but there was a force that moves through me and I didn't know what that force was at the time, but it literally was like a force moved through me. Something clicked in, I aligned, and it was like, okay, we're doing it. So the phone call went, I called her and I said, I'm handing in my resignation. And she turned around and said, I'm not surprised. It's about time. Meaning, I think part of it was very relieved that I had, because she was a very controlling character and she loved to have control, and she had lost control over me for years because I had taken her to task and told her I thought she was a bully and done all this. Organization could not manage her out. So I had to manage myself within that organization, which most people kind of tend to find they have to do. So in that moment, there was a sense of relief for her. But the interesting thing for me is she followed it up, and it wasn't what she says, it was how she said it. And she said, I'm really proud of you. And it was almost like at that point, I felt there was a force moving through her, giving me the validation that I needed. Because the tone that she said it to me and the words that she used, it just didn't feel like it was coming from her. It was coming from her, but I felt that it was moving through her. And at that point, I went, okay. And for me, all that angst I had towards her at that point just went.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
Interesting. So you were able to leave without animosity, without feeling all of that. It was like a really nice, fresh slate.
It's that moment when you make that decision, Cordelia, for anyone who is considering making that decision, there's that precipice of should I not. What we do is we tend to go into thinking about what it might happen, what might not happen, and we get so caught up in what we think might happen. See the minute you make that decision and do it, it's like all that weight is lifted. All the weight just goes. It's like, done it.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. It's like, yes, I'm a rebel.
Yeah. Yes. I love that.
Do you feel like you did it too late, or you could have done it earlier? Or do you feel like the timing was just right? The reason why I ask you this is because I know that, I have conversations with some people and they're like, I've quit my job, I'm going all in on this. And they haven't, there's no sign of any life in their business yet. And it literally scares the life out of me. Because I'm like, no, I love a risk taker. If you've got that much self-belief, then roll with it. But sometimes I think people make decisions that are a bit dangerous, a bit too quickly. And yeah, I'd love to hear how it sounds like it was just the right time and you just knew it. But
I think for me, I always knew I was really good at what I did. And I always knew I wasn't going to struggle with clients. And I knew that if I left the institute, a lot of the athletes would come to me and work with me privately. So I had that. And at the same time, I'd also just secured a contract with a charity who were going to pay me monthly. And I kid you not, the monthly amount they paid me was going to cover all of my bills.
nice.
What I'm really interested to talk about is you said that you'd already been working with energy prior to that. What do you mean by that? Like prior to to listening to those 3 signs and prior to saying goodbye to this horrible boss.
So my journey with energy came through. I started, I haven't been the psychologist. I was always in a personal development journey, and I started down like the NLP and hypnotherapy route, which takes you into a lot of the meditations and a lot of the deep trance work. When I was doing trance work, the only way to explain it is I was channeling information and I didn't know where I was getting it from. Mm-hmm. I knew things I really shouldn't have known. I just had a knowing. I had an intuition. Have
you got any examples?
Wow. Of actual sessions where I'll tell you an example that doesn't involve a client.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So do you remember the Boston bombing?
Yes.
So that evening, well, it was like the whole day. What happens for me is I get out of sorts. I get this really uncomfortable sensation in my body. I can't settle. And it's like the world is coming. It's literally like people are doing this around me. And this was very early on. And it was my partner at the time. He was an incredibly talented hypnotherapist. And he said, let's use your unconscious signals and see if we can tap into whatever this is. So we sat down and I told him the town. I told him the cross section of both the streets that would happen. And all I could say was, boom, there was going to be death. And there was going to be I can't remember, there was 5 things I said. I can't never remember the 5 things. But I told him all those. Now, we didn't know what it meant because it hadn't happened yet. And it was like, this was happening. And that's all I could say. I was like, it's in Boston. And it was the street numbers, not the names per se, it was the street numbers. And because for me, it comes in symbols. And I remember I could tell it was Boston because of the landmark in Boston. And then it goes like this. There was an intersection and there was numbers crossing over. So I didn't know what it meant. I thought it was a rail track to start with. And then it was like, I felt the of people passing and it was boom. All I could see was boom. That's all I got. And then there was the 5th one. I can't remember what it was, but there was 5 things that I got and we wrote them down. And then lo and behold, it was like literally within hours. It was all over the news.
That's crazy. That is wild. I would be terrified.
That's scary.
That would terrify me.
It was the first time where I actually got angry because I didn't know what it was, but I knew that I had an ability to pull information from places. But I was really angry because I was like, well, if you're giving me this, then I should be able to use it. How do I use it for good? I want to just have this. There's no point in having it if I can't use it. But I've later on found that that was not the intention of that experience for me. I had to learn something a lot greater from that experience, which I did. And it wasn't to foretell what was happening, because I don't predict the future.
So what did you learn? Yeah. Tell us.
So, you know how in life you go through and you get little nudges, like people are going, you feel like the world or the universe is nudging you in a direction?
Yeah.
I was at a crossroads at that point in time. It was the first big battle I had between the academic brain and the more of the woo-woo brain. Because there wasn't like a theory behind it and there wasn't evidence, I was like, So I was swaying between, I would do sessions and I would be in that whole coaching framework, psychologist model. But then I would always get pulled into this other place where I would get messages coming through, but I wouldn't use them. And the message, the bigger learning for me, it was a literal universal kick up the arse to say, listen to what you've been told and use it.
There's no ignoring that. So it's like, okay, now I've got the proof. All right, I'm listening. Okay, I hear that. So,
and the thing is, it's so difficult for your rational brain to comprehend that. And there's a leap of faith because there's very much a trust in that.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it was confirmed a few months later when I was sitting in my sister-in-law's house and I knew there was a burning building and there was a young boy trapped in it. Because I could literally feel. And lo and behold, there was. But we were able to alert them to get him out.
Oh my God.
And I don't want to share too many details because it is I don't want to share who, but yeah. That's the level that the universe will go to make you get the bloody messages and listen. And if you don't listen, then God help you or universe help you.
So here's a question. Do you think that you are quote unquote gifted? Do you feel that everyone has this ability to different extents, or do you think you have it, you don't have it? Like, what's your perception on your ability to tap in?
I am not gifted. I'm just a conduit for what moves through me. Everyone has the ability to open up to the wider, bigger consciousness. It's there and everyone has the ability to tap into it. We're all at different levels of ascension. If you want a different word, enlightenment, some people are more in their heads. If you're in your head, you're never going to get to that place where you're going to open up to what is bigger than yourself. I've been fortunate enough that I've ascended high enough in my journey that I can now step out of my ego and put my ego aside. Because trust me, if I was to sit here a couple of years ago and have this conversation and listen to myself talking, I would have wanted to lock myself up. But he didn't have it, It's, I am just the conduit for what moves through me. I do have. This is going to sound weird and wacky to everyone, but we're rebellious, and I know you'll get it. I do speak 3 different light languages, so I do speak in completely different languages, but they're all different healers from different light workers. That was a surprise because when you hear yourself back talking in a wiki wacky language, but you know exactly what you're saying, yeah, that takes a little bit of getting used to.
One of our clients speaks in light language and she got a download for me and it was so interesting. We need to put you in touch with her. But yeah.
So that's not something you learn, it's something you've got.
I didn't learn it. I don't have it. It's channeled. My understanding or how I understand it for myself is my light workers channel through me.
How do you blend then this light language and the channeling messages, and how do you blend that? So you've got your psychology. Like, how do they reconcile? Do they work together? Are they at odds? How do they work together?
That has been the journey I have been on past long for a good while now. It was like, how do I take the academic? And I was a geek. I'm the psychologist, neuroscience who wants to understand everything and could recite every theory in the book to you. And then you have the extreme light language energy healer worker over here. My job and my journey has been, how do I pull them together to create something that will work for that person, irrespective of where they're at in their journey and their belief system. And that's what I've really enjoyed doing. And I love the fact that whoever sits across from me in a client session, I meet them at their level, but I have the ability to meet them here, but I also have the ability to meet them there. But what you find you can do is you can take them from here and help them move along to there. And that's exciting. And it's been a real journey, and I have spiritually had my nuts kicked a few times. I've had a spiritual beating in more than one occasion because I wasn't listening. I wasn't learning, and it's all part of the process. I see it. Do you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of being an athlete again. Instead of training for like the Olympics, I was training for whatever. And this world is, and it's been like a constant training session for me. And it's been physically, emotionally, and mentally really hard. At stages, it really has been, but I wouldn't change it for the world. I love where I sit today.
It really sounds like it has been. And from someone like, I used to be a nurse, and that is something that's very bound by policy and procedure. Like, you rarely go outside the box. And I remember feeling like the most creative I could get in my role is, number one, like trying to persuade someone who's got dementia to have their meds or something. Number two, when I was doing dressings, and there'd be these little places where I got to think outside the box and like do things creatively. But other than that, it was so bound by policy and procedure, and rightly so, to be honest. But I do resonate with the fact that you've gone from this place of working in this corporate institute, very, very bound by, rules and guidelines, and, everything's backed by science. It's all research backed stuff. And then actually having your own business and moving into you being the boss, you being able to, it just allows you to experiment with all this stuff. There's no one about to pull you in for some kind of repercussion because you went outside the lines. It means that you can really, really experiment with that. And do you feel like you're a lot freer? Like you've got so much more freedom in comparison?
Yeah. I feel like I can breathe. That's the most, that's the most freeing part of it. Yeah, there's a whole load of responsibility because if you get it wrong, it's all on you. But for me, I always live my life from, as long as my intention comes from a good place, then whatever I do, I'm okay with that. I'm not always going to get it right. In fact, I screw up quite a lot, but it's always from a good place, and I'm okay with that. And that sits okay with me. And it means I can let go of my ego. Cause I tell you what, see, my ego, she was a pain in the fucking ass. I mean, honest to goodness. But now my ego sits beside me and she's my observer alongside me, which is a massive shift.
So a minute ago, you talked about training. You said you feel like you're training for this new world the way you trained as an athlete. How do you train?
It's funny because when I hear you say that back to me inside, in fact, she's going, that is bollocks, because you don't. Because the funny thing is as an athlete, when I trained as an athlete, it was all I was sitting in my masculine all the time. It was about working harder, getting more, staying in the plan, staying in routine. The work that I do now, I can't chase it. I have to allow it. I have to trust it. So I have to be very much in my feminine, which was a massive shift for me. Externally, my feminine was there. Internally, I work in life. And then when I stepped into this role, it was, I'm going to trust and allow. That's a very feminine energy. So I had a lot of wounded feminine energy that I had to do a heck of a lot of healing of. But now when I say the training, it's still a training, but it's a training of not working at it. It's allowing and trusting and watching and being present and worrying about what's ahead of me. It's just appreciating and living in what I have now. It's like I had no idea what the hell I was going to say when I come on here. I never do when I come on to do anything. And I'm okay with that. because what's meant to be shared will be shared in the moment.
What's harder, the training or allowing?
Oh, the allowing has been a lot harder because that's trust, isn't it?
Mm.
And of course, when you don't have your ego there, like when your ego is there, trust is not something your ego likes to do very easily. But now that I've worked with, she's very much, she'll observe before she reacts or responds, which is an easier way to work. But yeah, going out there and training like 4 hours a day every day was like hard work, but it was easy. You just did it.
Yeah.
This whole letting go of the outcome and letting go of expectations and being comfortable that what is going to come, I'm okay with. That's harder. That shit is hard.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds torturous, actually.
Yeah.
That sounds like torment.
I'd love to hear about that journey then. So, because it isn't a straight line, it sounds like you've been through a lot to get to where you are now in terms of your ego. By the way, I love that you separate your ego from yourself. I think that's a really good way of doing that. Yeah. But yeah, so you quit your job, you got some clients, you went all in. Was it a straight line like that? Like, what was this journey from here to here? Like, what happened? Was it more like this? Like, talk us through the ups and downs.
It was easy at the start because I had secured some clients. But then as with, when we start our own job, entrepreneurship is not just about the actual, if you're coaching the clients you work with, it's everything around it. And I didn't have a clue how to run a business. That's why I came and worked with you, Cordelia, which made the job a heck of a lot easier. But you do go through ups and downs because, the industry is itself. There were some ones that I didn't know where the money was going to come from to cover the bills. But this was a crucial learning for me. I always trusted that it would. And I kid you not, every single month, I would get down to that last few days and money would drop into my account. Every single time. Because it was meant to. And I trusted that if it didn't, it was because I had to learn something. And that's how I've navigated it. So there has been loads where I've questioned, can I do this? Am I going absolutely crazy? Because this stuff that's going on in my head, that it takes courage to be an entrepreneur. Really does take courage. It takes resilience, I had courage and resilience in abundance because of my background as an athlete. I knew I had that, but I had it mentally. What I didn't have it as is I didn't have it emotionally. Okay. So I had to work in building that, and the mental and emotional resilience are two completely separate things. Of course, then I had to add in the spiritual resilience, which was a whole new ball game for me. But you never have a straight path to anything. If it is a straight path, I don't think you're on the right path. It always goes up and down. But in the downs, it's holding on. It's the same thing that you would teach us, Cordelia. It's holding on to your why. Why are you doing this? And I know why I'm doing what I do. You're going to ask me why I do what I do. Why I'm doing what I do.
Why are you doing what you do, Mary?
I do what I do because I want to live in a world where I can feel safe to be me. And I want that for every other person in this world.
There ain't nothing.
Because I didn't feel safe. Yeah. And everyone deserves a right to feel safe, to be themselves, whoever themselves are. We all deserve that right. So if I can help someone along that journey to feel safer in themselves and to be themselves, then hallelujah. And excuse me for swearing, but
don't ever worry about swearing. It's fine. I should know better than to tune into the Rebellious Business Network and expect 100% new language. Awesome.
I think for our audience, you touched on something really, really important, which I think they'll resonate with. I mean, I personally, I think that everyone resonates with an element of spirituality. I find that I tend to sort of swing. There's some times where I go through this period where I'm like, oh, this is all there is. It's all spirituality. And then something will happen and I'll be like, actually in the physical and believing in much more like practical things. And then something will take me back. I'm a bit back and forth. I think everyone will resonate with that. That's my belief. Everyone has those experiences that tell them there's something kooky going on, right? But what I find really interesting, which I think that our audience will really resonate with in terms of business, is that getting up to that wire of getting in some money, right? Like that is business in a nutshell. I think for a lot of people, where is the next client coming from? Where is the first client coming from? What, like my bills are coming out in this many days, or this payment for this thing is going out in this many days. You talked about keeping your cool and practicing trust. Is there an element where it's like, it's not just about trust? I've got to trust, but I've got to do something about this as well. Like where is the space for practical meets trusting? Oh, I love your face. It's of course, yeah.
As I say, it's like what Joseph Campbell talks about. It's about walking in both worlds. We have a world of, the universe, manifestation, trusting, all of that. Having one foot in that world, but also having one foot in what we call this reality, this here and now. Things don't happen just because you want them to. Even with manifestation, you have to fucking do something. You have to move towards it. You have to have an intention and put work towards it. So yeah, I was there. I had to trust that the money had come in, but not just because I wanted it, because I had done the stuff, put the things in place. I just didn't know when it was going to come in.
Yeah.
Very much. But
I do actually. Oh, sorry.
Of course, we have to have this. Some people go right into the spirituality and it becomes, I'm just trusting in everything and all will work out. Sorry, no, it fucking won't. You can trust, but you have to put the blocks in place. You have to put the path in place. Then you trust the path. You trust what comes to meet you on the path. But you got to put those bloody steps in place first.
It's like my mum says, that's all very well, Cordelia, but the washing up still needs doing. I think it's so true. It's like, some people thinking that they could just sit on a beach and wish for change, but it does come with action. 100%. It's about taking the action that you'll push towards.
I would love for you to share some real nuggets of wisdom and tangible value for our audience in two ways. One, connection, how to connect, how to listen. And two, where the fuck do they get the money from? Like if they're all business owners, they're mostly service-based, they're coaches. I imagine 90% of our audience are like, where is that next client coming from? Not even just where is that next client coming from? Maybe they've had a really good month. They don't need to know where the next client from. They want to know, how do I keep this up? Like, where's the consistency? Could you give us any insight on anything you can provide that would help that person feeling, I want to trust. I also want to do stuff.
I'll go with the money and where the money is. And I learned this from Cordelia. Thankfully, it's about, there's a ceiling on one-to-ones you can have, so you have to have you have to have something in place where you're getting residual income coming in all the time. So I have one-to-one clients that I work with. But what I do and what my absolute passion these days is running retreats, mind, body and soul retreats, because I can get one-to-many. I can service many people then for the same amount or way less time than I can. And it's understanding how many one-to-one clients can I get that gives me enough money. When I reach my ceiling of that, what's the next thing I can do? Do I do group sessions? So I'm meeting, and then do I do big events and conferences? So it's getting a business structure in place that allows you to keep growing. And that's exactly what Cordelia had taught me. And automating systems, which I'm still shite here, but I'm trying to get better, yes. But it's working out, where am I spending most of my time? And can someone else do that? And can I pay them to do that? Great, let's pay them to do that so I can free up my time to do not only what makes the money, but what I love to do and what I am born to do. So that's what I'd say with regards structure of getting clients in. How do I get clients in? I'm going to be honest, most of mine are word of mouth now. I don't do a lot of marketing. I share stories on Facebook. I have an email campaign. Again, thanks to Cordelia, because she taught me how to do that. But it's all about sharing, sharing the stories. It's being real and authentic. I think one of the things I hear a lot from people, and this is something to remember, guys, if you're going on Facebook or Instagram or social media and you're sharing your videos and you're not getting a lot of likes or comments, do not assume that you're not getting a lot, because the amount of people that stop me and say, I love your videos, and I have no clue who they are, and they've never liked my post, because people don't want to be seen to be liking things, because in their head, then they're going, well, then people will know that I'm actually feeling that way, and they don't want to do it. So if you're on social media, just be yourself. I'm completely authentic in social media. I share. What you get is what you get with me. And I do that because I want to share my stories and people resonate with that. But just share it, but let go of looking at the likes. Let go of looking at the comments. Just be on there. And that's where the trusting that the right people will see that. And when they see that, then you build that connection and that relationship. Again, all the stuff Cordelia talked to you about. It's about the connection and once you've got that rapport and that connection, they will come find you when they need you. And that's what's happened, thankfully, for me.
Awesome. And can we just give a shout out to the lurkers? Because we know you're there and we love you nonetheless. Drop us a hashtag replay if you feel up to it. And
Show your faces.
No, it's awesome. And I say that all the time, like don't look at the likes, don't look at the comments. The amount of people that say, oh yeah, I was posting, but no one's commenting, no one's watching. And I've had people say the same thing to me, Mary. It's like, oh, I love your emails, I love your videos, and I have no idea who they are. The most annoying thing is I go and start a conversation with someone and I say, oh yeah, we've just done this. And they're like, yeah, I know. And I'm like, oh, we've done that. And they're like, yeah, I know. And I'm like, damn it, I've got nothing to tell you because you just know everything. Because people are watching.
Yeah, in Facebook, you don't even have to click into the video to watch it, because when you just scroll, you can hold it in your screen and that doesn't even register as someone watching it. So it's like people are seeing it, but you're not getting any of the stats to tell you that people are always watching. And that's okay.
So creepy, isn't it?
People are okay. It's fantastic.
We love it. We love it. Okay, cool. So let's go back. You were sitting on a bus or a train. You hand in your resignation. You start this business. You trust. Yeah, you've had ups and downs. You don't know where the money's coming from. Some places you're finding resources to teach you how to build a business and all that good stuff. But if you think back to that girl were you on a bus or a train? Because I can't remember which one it was.
No, but actually, I was down at one of the mastermind weekends. So I was down in Birmingham.
You were in Birmingham. So you were on your way to Birmingham when you handed in this resignation. And you said you were in Birmingham. Okay, cool. I'm so glad. I've been sat here for the last 5 minutes going, what was that detail? So what would you, if you could go and sit with her and spend an hour with her, what would you tell her? What advice would you give her?
I would say, well fucking done.
Would you tell her to do anything? Okay? Would you tell her to just, what would you say to her?
That's a really good question. I would tell her to believe in that little part of her that always knew there was something more or different for her. That little part that always was there going, we can. I would tell her to believe her, to celebrate her every fucking day. Because it took me a while to celebrate her. That part that sits there if you have a part right now that's going, I could do that. I could do it. What all of them are doing. I know I can. Then you know what? If you don't believe her or him, or if you don't give them the intention or attention they need in order to be let loose, they're never going to do it. They're never going to want to do it. Believe in yourself. It's the biggest cliche, but it's true. You got to believe in yourself first. You don't have to believe in every part of yourself, but that little part that keeps waking up and nudging and going, yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. Ask yourself, what if? What if he or she was absolutely right? Right now, if you could believe that he or she was right, what would that make you do right now?
Oh, that's such a good question. Pause and write that down. Say it again, Mary. What was the question?
The question is,
You're back. Go.
You got it? Yeah. Right, I'm back. So if you have that little part of you that's questioning and going, we could. If you believed him or her, which if you're a he or she, was absolutely right. If you could believe that what she was saying was absolutely right, what would that have you do right now?
I love that question so much.
I have one more question. Is there a question we haven't asked you that we should have?
What am I doing now?
Fabulous.
Where are we doing now? So what's next?
So as I said, I started running mind, body and soul retreats, weekend retreats. And they are the best weekend I could ever spend with a glorious bunch of people, because I get to be every and all part of myself. I get to bring everything I do and bring it into a weekend where we go in this wild adventure. And I absolutely love it. My plan, my goal last year was to run 4 of them, which I did. We're all fully booked, went great. Now I have the request. I'm doing another 4 weekends this year, plus I'm doing day retreats, and I am in the process of organising one in Bali in 2025.
Amazing.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. And they've also opened up a wellness and nutrition centre, a physical centre.
It's
amazing.
In right now that doesn't have much of that. Yeah.
Oh, I'm in one of the therapy rooms right now, but we have a whole nutrition and wellness centre where we run a breakfast club, and it's all the coaching, all the accountability, all the nutrition. It's just like a gossip centre. We come for breakfast in the morning, everyone loves it, and people are getting incredible results. And it just thrills me. And do you know the best part of it? I'm doing it with my sister. And my sister has never been into any of this stuff. And now she's running a centre with me, which is fab.
That is awesome. Do you know what? I really, really feel that one, because I brought my sister into Rebellious Business in 2020 or 2021. I can't remember. She'll correct me later. But she's sitting on the other side of the table. She's getting all the prep stuff ready for next week's Rebellious Business Show, and she absolutely freaking loves it. And we love having her. And so it's just it's the best feeling, isn't it?
Amazing. Yeah. But we get to do this when when we become entrepreneurs. We get to choose who we work with and who we want to bring into our family and our team. That's our choice, because we get that freedom. And that, for me, freedom is worth way more than any high-paying job could ever give me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I could never go back. And I'm sure you probably feel the same.
Oh, never going back.
Mary, it's amazing what you've built. When did you hand in your resignation? When was it?
Oh God, what year was it? What month? I think it was 2 years ago now. 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
We worked together in 2021. Was it?
And that's when I had handed my resignation. Yeah. So it was so maybe 2.5, 3 years.
Look at what she's built in 2.5, 3 years. Seriously, this is insanely good. Like, you have gone from being a one-to-one coach. You ran your first event in Glasgow. I remember that. You ran your first event. You had other people from the program come over. I think Helen flew over to come along to your first event. Like, it was the cutest thing ever. And now you're running retreat. You got retreat planned in Bali. You're running retreats all the time. You're running events all the time. You just opened up a centre. I mean, this is insanely incredible. Like, I'm so freaking proud of you. Like,
Thank you.
and I love that all of this. Yeah, there's some nuts and some bolts to learn in business, right? But all of this has come from your sense of trusting yourself and believing that you can, and not listening or paying too much attention to your ego along the way. And it's amazing what you've created in the last 2 years. Like, it really, really is. Congratulations.
Thank you. Do you know what? One of the things I wanted to say about you, Cordelia, that you taught me and I will be forever grateful for. See, when you start a business, there's so many business coaches out there. There's so many people like in business and they have these set ways of doing things and they want to tell you all this stuff and they make you feel like you're incompetent and they make you feel like you should be doing it their way. The one thing you always did is you always taught us that there's more than one way to do it. You were never judgmental on how we do it. You gave us a structure, but you said, put your own stamp on it. And I loved that because that gave me the creative freedom to be like, I know there's support there. I know there's a framework, but I get to do it my way. And that was a big part of allowing me to open up and find myself. So I will be forever grateful to you and anyone that's watching this show and looking for an awesome business coach. There we go. Caroline, is it Caroline? I'll put my glasses on. I've not met you yet. I can't tell you how amazing you are, but you must be if you're working with Cordelia.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I'm all right. We do different things, but I'm completely in agreement. I actually did. Cordelia and I have been friends forever, and she was my business coach. So yeah, she was my business coach as well, and I'm very fortunate that she's brought me on as partner. We have really compatible skills, but I completely agree with everything you say. She at first she was really offended, but I stopped my coaching like a bit early, and she was like, "What was I doing so wrong?" I was like, "No, I got what I wanted. I'm done now. I'm happy. I've reached this level." And she was like, "I want more. You do more." I'm like, "No, I'm chill. Like this is where I wanted to get to." So yeah, I'm in complete agreement. She's fantastic, and I got to put my stamp on my business, and I'm in a complete agreement. But I am also biased because now I'm part of the business. So I won't go too much into it. I try not to do too much self-promotion, but yeah.
Your business is my business and my
business. Yes. I am a great business coach. I am Cordelia now. We are one. Thank you for all the compliments.
Thank you, Mary. I really appreciate it. Honestly, guys, I've not paid Mary to say any of this, and this was not intended to be some testimonial at all. So thank you so much.
It's been bloody lovely. Thank you very much, Mary.
But I'm so proud of you. I really, really am. And I think you're amazing. So where can people find out more about you? Where do we find out about these retreats? Where can we follow you on social media? Tell us.
You can follow me social media at Mary McClung Coaching on Facebook and Instagram. I can drop a link for the retreat in here if you want.
Yeah, go for it. Drop a link so the people can check out the retreat.
I can do it too. Yeah, this is a February retreat that's coming up. And the great thing about it is it's in a place called Culzean. Oh, no, that's not the right one. It's a place called Culzean Castle in Scotland, which is my spiritual home. So when I found a place in there, I was like, this has got to be. Sorry, I'm just going to find the right. I don't send you to some random place.
Awesome. Has anybody got any questions for Mary before we wrap? Is there any questions in the chat? And no, I can't see any over on Facebook. Mark Lyon says, I think I can, which is a really awesome comment there. Amanda saying should never go back. But if we got any questions, anybody got anything they want to ask Mary?
Stunned people into silence.
Yeah, I think you have.
All right. Do it all the time. Fine.
Have you got anything else in here?
Boom. Yeah, that link's great. That one works. Cool. Awesome. Any questions, guys?
Thank you so much.
Going once. Oh, here we go.
How did I
Great question.
So I went and actually did mushroom retreat. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to share that with people. And when I was going through my journey, I started speaking in a completely different language. Didn't know what it was. And it was one of the ladies played back some light language to me afterwards. And she said, I'm just going to play this. And then I started having a full-blown conversation with this language. It's bizarre because I don't know what they're saying, but I know what they're saying.
So you can't translate it. It's not like a word for word, like it's not like translating, but you know.
I know the meaning of it. I can translate. The part of me knows it, part of me can translate it. So how mine's work is when I'm working with my light workers, they come in as healers. So when I'm doing healing with them, if they're coming through, because I have 3 different ones, one of the big journeys for me was they would all come in at once and they all talk different languages, so no one could understand each other, and they were absolutely draining me because we're all coming in at once. So part of my spiritual development was learning the boundaries and putting boundaries in place. So they each have their own specific signals of coming in. I know when they're starting to come in. I don't want to talk about it too much because they might come in and I don't want to talk in weak language and Facebook.
You should, by all means. I'd love that. Why are you holding back, Mary?
That one up. She's a massive healer. She will come in and then you'll see me start to talk with my hands. That's my click clacker. They will come in and they will actually, the language comes from my throat. It doesn't actually, it click clacks from my throat. And then I've got a Chinese medicine man who comes in as well. So when
I love Chinese medicine.
And I will, if I'm doing like a Reiki treatment or something on someone, I will just start talking in whatever language it is. And I just let them move through me and do what they need to do, because a lot of it is healing. It's healing from whatever. And sorry, one of them's.
I completely hadn't. Oh yeah, they're coming through. What are they saying? Can you share? Do you feel comfortable?
When they're standing, they show me different lights, and it's a symbolic thing for me that they give me. So I've got the pitch, and then one of them is standing behind the wall with a red circle above their head, which I don't know what that indicates. So they've put what they're showing me, they've put the wall up between it, but sometimes they'll do that just because, they'll only come. I'm trying to stop the clicky clacky one coming in because she's a bloody show off and we'll want to come in and
I want to see the clicky clacky show off, Mary.
Honestly, it's the weirdest. It's like baby language. One of them sounds like, do you know when you get young children and they just talk in baby language? That's what it sounds like to me. It's just like somebody talking in baby language, but I have a video of me after one of the retreats, and there was another 4 girls sitting in the room, and it's a conversation with me speaking to them in light language, but I speak to them in a different light language for every person. It's a really weird to watch yourself doing that. I'm very conscious that I'm doing it. I'm fully aware when I'm doing it, but that's where the trust comes in, because if I try mentally or consciously interfere with it, it blocks. So I just have to be open and allow it to come through. Yeah, if I make
Can we get this video?
I'll see if I can find it for you, Chef.
Yes, please. We need to see this video. I love this.
All the time. I'm always speaking in light language at the retreat. But that's why I bring one of my really good friends is a Reiki master. So I bring her to hold the energy so I can be in the energy to use the energy. Because when you connect in with both worlds, we end up getting into like parallel worlds, past lives. You know, we go all over the place. So I need somebody to hold my energy, ground my energy. And she's so good at doing it. That's why I wouldn't trust anyone else with. She is my grounder, because we can go in multiple different places.
I love this. Okay. Oh, that's absolutely fair enough.
Yeah. It's been so interesting to have you on, Mary. Thank you so much. We'll have to have you come back, because I feel like there's so much more to talk about. Yeah, it would be great. It would be really great. Well, if you have been listening on Facebook and you found this really interesting, you think, well, people need to know about Mary and also the Rebellious Business Show, please hit that share button. If you are listening on podcast, please drop us a 5-star review if you've liked this episode. And also, please do hit that follow button so that you don't miss out on future ones. This has been the Rebellious Business Show, and I just want to thank each and every one of you for being a part of the Rebellion. We absolutely love being able to be a part of this community, run this community, and have all of you amazing souls here. And a huge special thank you to Mary for taking time out of your incredibly busy week, setting up your new studio, for coming on the show. It's been awesome to have you. And I look forward to seeing what happens next with your retreats in Bali and all the things. Go and check Mary out on social media. If you listen on the podcast, I will put links to everything underneath in the description, so you can go and click on those and check Mary out and show us some love and some appreciation. Thank you so much, Mary. Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Rebels. Have an amazing rest of your day. We will see you same time, same place next week.